Um, it's me again. And I would like to take us through another module, and I'll be titling this one the Project Protocol Document or the Document Control Project Manual. Now, this document is a must-have for every single document controller on every project, and usually it's created by the client or the client's document controller or information manager. And it's a good skill set to have, knowing how to create this document and what the contents are. So if you're a document controller that's aspiring to actually move up the ladder to a managerial role, it's always important to understand, how this document plays into your project and how this is of benefit to the project, because it's a guide for anyone who's coming on the project to actually see this document or have this document sent to them so that they understand how to go about the processing or the management of the documents within your project. So let's get right into it. I mean, we're looking at this, the front page of this document, and then we can quickly see very, project specific features here. We can see the name of the project. We can see the project code here. Um, of course, we can see the logo of the company, the client company, and we can see the title of the document up here. Now, we can see a document number here as is required for every single contractual document, which this is also a part of. And at some point, I think it's on page 21, we would see, which I also have a module for how we actually generated this document or created. We have the project name, Entity Communications DC Dagnum. We have the revision, which means 9 other revisions of this document had been created. And then once it's altered, or we make changes to this document by adding or taking away, we actually revise it because it means the document has changed, and so we must on that change there must be a new revision. It also gives us the date when the last revision was made, and it tells us why the purpose um, of the document, and which is represented by the status. And it tells us here it's for issue to every single person that comes on the project, or every single company that comes on the project, be it the main contractor or the subcontractor slash vendors. So we'll go to the second page, and then we find, the content, a table of content which has a list of all the different sections of this document, and then that helps you to know where you're going to navigate your way around the whole document. um, um, Page 3 just tells us about related documents um, to this particular document. In this case, we don't really have any. um, Here it just has to break down what's the purpose. Of course, this works. What I mean, it gives you a lot of information about document control and the process. It means if you have an electronic database management system like Econex, which is pretty much the industry standard for managing documents here in the United Kingdom, you would also have guides as to how to register, because whenever you have a project, you would have the client has the electronic database management system, in this case Econex, and they would expect every single subcontractor and trade contractor contractually to actually use Econex as well for the distribution of documents. And so this book on this page gives a guide as to who is required, and how you actually get registered, on the particular EDMS. So that's actually very helpful, because sometimes you get, companies will call and say, hey, we've been given this package, and we've been told to come see you because your name is on the document, and that gives them a guide on how to register, because some of them may not be registered on Econex, even though most companies are. But then some of them may not be registered on Econex, and then this is an in indoor pass-through into the use of Econex, and so they get registered for this particular project, and that shows them how they should actually do it. So it just makes things really easy um, when companies are getting involved in your project. Now, um, here is we can see a link where once you're registered, you can just click on this link and then you go to the web browser and um, you get on to Econex and then you sign in and get all the necessary um, login informations as we can see here for you to actually get started. Of course, there are other processes as to how you can get on that particular project, which is specific to you. And we won't get into all those details here, but then it just simply shows you how you get registered, and that's what this page is for. So you can see how helpful this document is for a new company who's coming on board, who's been given a package to do, whether it's doors, and they need to send their drawings, they need to send their technical submittals, for approval, and this document just gives them a guide on what to do, how to number their documents, what the convention is, so that all documents go through smoothly and they understand what the process is for approval. Now we're going to see a lot more information on in this document to help us as a guide to show us what we are supposed to do or what document controllers from other companies are supposed to do. Um, Now it's not only document controllers from all the different subcontractors that would be processing documents. You would have their engineers, their mechanical engineers, commercial team, also maybe going on Econex to process documents, and so this kind of gives them a guide. Now they may not use as much as a document controller will, but they would have a little bit to do on there, um, communicating, creating RFIs or requests for information, and this gives them a guide as to who to send a document to and how to go about doing all of that. Now up here we can see it kind of gives us simple terminologies for us to understand, and um, you have things like document register, mail register, um, supersede, transmittal, just for people that are coming new into the industry. So it's a very user friendly document that helps you know what and how what you're supposed to be doing. It gives you an understanding of the playing field, which is Econex, because you will be seeing these folders in Econex, and you want to understand, okay, what is the mail, what is document register, what is the content of that, what should I do with that, and so this just simply gives us a guide as to um, what these things are. So the terminology is there for us to understand what we're actually doing when we get into Econex as a database management system. Okay. Now, over here it shows the supporting and training, who to call when you get into trouble, or if you get into a jam on Econex. It just helps you know who to call and who to reach out to, just so you know what you're doing. Um, okay, so down here we have what is expected of you with regards to whether it's the design team, the subcontractors, the document controllers, the lead review or design managers. It shows you what is expected of you, because like we may know or not, you have the client's job is to approve documents coming through. They also answer queries that are requested of them, and so it's important to know what is expected of you and then what you're supposed to be doing using this system. um, you would usually not have the client raising requests for information because they are the client or their consulting team, but you would have the subcontractors or main contractor raising lots of RFIs. RFIs there, I mean request for information. That's the acronym, request for information, and so that's the contractual way or process to actually um, request or ask questions, technical questions about maybe certain elements on the drawing, or what is supposed to be here, you know gray areas where you don't have complete information. And it's actually um, your responsibility to use this process or the different processes that are available to you. And so that's what this section actually gives us, so that everybody knows what they're actually supposed to do and how they're supposed to go about it. um, and so we go to the next page. We'll go to the next page, and here it shows us um, the different, still telling us about you know um, the different the contents of Econex and how it's been designed or configured, so that if you were sending drawings, you would know how to go about it. If you just wanted to ask a question, um, you could go through mail forms, understand how to draft them and or how to create them, and then how to send them out to the different recipients that you want to actually get the information. So this is still part of um that guide as to how to move around Econex with regards to the configuration that has been created by the client for this project. And I say that because lots of projects are configured differently, um, where you have um, main contractors or subcontractors just sending out or creating, um, distributing, publishing submittals, I beg your pardon, publishing submittals and then creating their own workflow. You have certain companies that don't do that, as we will have in this project, where you just send the your submittals to the document controller from the main contractor, and he actually um, puts your document into a workflow, and when it comes back, he sends it back to you. So every company has a different way they want to configure their project through their electronic database management system. And so this just simply gives you a guide. Um, and it's pretty much for the document controller to really digest this document and understand how the flow of documents would be, and the structure, um, with regards to this project. So it just gives you a whole plethora of information for you at your disposal to use, and it comes in very, very handy. It's a must for every company, or any project. Here we can see the numbering convention and then what all the different codes mean. I have a different module for this, showing us we create um, how we create document numbers, and this clearly shows us here. So this is very, 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 very useful, very, very handy for document controllers, because you would be creating documents, and you would also be training people on how to number their documents. um, and so you want to make sure you understand the numbering convention. Now here it shows us the different lead reviewers. It shows us from the client side, um, the client team, the commissioning team, the electrical guys, almost like a document matrix, right? Or as to who is supposed to be responding to what from the client side, who's supposed to be approving and reviewing. And so this is a very, very, very beautiful document, beautifully created by the client's senior document controller. Um, Here we have um, okay, so this is still part of informing us as to all the different processes within Econex, the way it's been configured, change request, um, RFIs, um, and the whole lot. And then when we come here to flowcharts is just, I mean, it's simply created to help the companies and the different subcontractors or main contractor understand how the flow of document is, who it's going to, um, and so you know who you're processing the document through to. It just gives a a, a, a more detailed description as to who's responsible for what and who you're sending the document for. Um, and so we have all these different flowcharts. You have this that says flowchart one, subcontractor issues document for QA approval. So when subcontractors send and issue documents, they send it to the document controller, um, from the main contractor for approval. And so it shows here, this it gives a description as to, how to go about doing that, who's supposed to receive what's the next channel, of distribution, who's going to approve there. If the documents don't have the right information, what what the person is supposed to do or is required to do, um, whether it's rejecting it, making a comment. It just gives a very detailed description of who's responsible for what, and then what exactly to do. So we also have another flow chart that describes the pod manufacturer. In on this project, of course, it's um, it's more mechanical and electrical, based project, um, because it's the creation of the building of a data center. So you have um, you have what we call pods, within the mechanical and electrical, discipline. And so this is a flowchart for the pod manufacturer, um, who would be sending his documents, um, to be approved. And so this flowchart clearly describes that process and that process flow. Um, Now, this flowchart describes another flowchart, and all this will be configured by the, client's document, senior document controller, or information manager. But then this flowchart is to help, main contractors and and subcontractors understand when they are sending their documents for approval, who to send it through to, and what that process is like. So it just gives them more granularity in the process. This another process, flowchart process flow that shows the contractor change request and instructions. This is pretty much for commercial guys. And I think the one above change request also is also, for the commercial guys as well. When there is a request for change in design, um, this is under flow chart for request for information RFI, as I spoke about earlier. So it just helps um helps the whole subcontractor and main contractor team know how to raise requests for information on Econex and who to send it to. Usually they would always have a matrix, and then they can address those queries to the particular required people, recipients. This is a flow chart for technical submittals, and this is, of course, for, subcontractors, slash trade contractors, on how, that process flow is. So it's a very, very detailed document. It must have for anyone, any document control on the project. This is also the numbering convention, document numbering convention I spoke about earlier on above, 4 pages or 5 pages away. And it just gives us a description of all the different, zones, levels, so that when you're numbering your document, you know what to pick and um, how to create that number, that document number or file number. And like I said, I have a module for this that just explains how you actually create this. So um, yeah, that's a good one to listen to as well. Um, Here it shows us all the different document types, still in relation to the document numbering. Um, and it has the different role codes and then packages, whether it's architect or whether you fall on that architect, um, business, building information, modeling team, BMS, building management system. Depends on what your package is, and it's all listed here. You find what suits your package, and then that's a code for, also creating the the also distributing documents so that once people see the package, they know who it's for or who it's what package it relates to. Um, we go down here and then we see the document status matrix, which shows the responsibility within the clients, um, and who's supposed to be approving what, reviewing. So it's just the responsibility um, matrix shows who's responsible for what. Also has in there the different statuses that are available within Econex that we could use to inform whoever is receiving the document as to why they are receiving the document, the purpose of issue. So we have here for construction, for information, etc. It just goes down. Um, and then here we have a review status matrix, a revision convention, um, which I also have a module for this, just explaining, how to revise documents. Now, all documents that are contractual within any project must have revisions, and this just shows, based on this project, how the client wants us to um what kind of what style, what convention they want us to use when it comes to revisions. um as my revision model class has it, like, you have different conventions from different companies where some people like to use alphabet, some people like to use numbers, some people like to use a combination of both, like we have here CO1 alphanumeric for their revision numbers. And so that what you have here is just um, people using these conventions. The project decides, what convention they want to use for what stage of the document or what REBA stage in the project life cycle for the naming of these documents. Here we can see T01, which represents tender at the tender stage. We have ABC, which will be used in the as builds. Um, you have CO1, which will be used for construction, etc. So things like that. So this just gives whoever is going to be creating these documents or managing them within the company to understand, when they are giving the revision numbers, they know how to label them properly. Um, Here is the mail form matrix. When you're sending out mails, say change request for information, it just tells you who you're sending it to and who's responsible. So right there is a document, a project um, protocol document, um, and it's a very, 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 very important document to have on any project. It gives you um, a very good guide on how to go about it. I would also say, like I said in the beginning, it's if you want to go up the ladder, you want to get up to managerial, a managerial position when it comes to document control, information management. It's also always good to learn how to create documents like this. Of course, to create a document like this, you would have to know, develop your skills in using Word, and things, whole Microsoft package like Visio when it comes to creating flowcharts. Um, but yeah, having the skill sets will always help and enhance your ability to be able to create documents like this. But also is knowing what should be in this document, the content of it, and that's something, if you're looking to move up the ladder, um, you should aspire to actually learn. So I hope this module actually helps you understand, it gives you a better understanding of what this document is, and then how it's a must-have for every single project. All right, thank you for listening. Bye bye.